Hi everyone, and welcome to another video of Terraform. My name is Tia from DevOps Easy Learning, and today we'll be going through Terraform variable, especially a tuple variable, right? We'll also see what is the difference between the tuple variable and the list variable. Now, if in terms of tuple and list, right, what will be the difference between the tuple and the list? When we are talking about the list variable, we can first of all talk a little bit about the data type, right? Within the list, the data type should basically be the same. Let's say in the list, if you start with maybe string, you should make sure that all data type will be type string. If you start with type number, you should make sure that all data type, it is type number. But within the tuple, what happens is that you can have a different data type, which means you can have a string, you can have a Boolean data type, you can even have a number data type. Even within the tuple, you can have a list data type and so on, right? And also the way that we access the data type, it is the same. If it is a tuple or a string, we use index position, right? Let me click here on this Terraform icon, and it's going to take me to a GitHub repository that I will be using for this specific example. And I will make sure that I put the link to this GitHub repository in the description of this video, so that if you want to go ahead and follow the same step that I will be doing here, you are more than welcome to do so. And you can go ahead and read this on your own. That will basically give you what is the difference also between the list and the tuple, but I kind of brush up already. I don't like to kind of check out my code here through GitHub, or like to read any code through GitHub, and that is why I'll kind of move to my local system here, and I have the code already cloned, and I've navigated already to the root of this repository. If you type pwd, you guys can see that I am at the root, and I can go ahead and cd to this specific path here, and ls, that is what we are seeing through the console, and that's the readme file. I can go ahead and kind of open code here, and this will open this in VS Code. As you guys can see, this is just the main difference between the tuple and the set variable. Now, let me click on one example here. In this example, basically, we set up here our Terraform block, which basically have the required version and also the required provider that we want to deploy. And this is just the provider, which means we are deploying this in AWS, and the region is US East 1. Here, we have the S3 bucket underscore config. Now, this is a variable that we basically define, and we define this variable as type tuple. As you guys can see, within the tuple, we can go ahead here and specify the data type. Here we are saying that an index position 1, we have a number. Here, this should be a string variable. This should be a Boolean variable. And here, we set the default here, right? The default here, it should be 2, and this should be the bucket. Maybe I'm going to use this as my bucket name, and here I basically append some random string here to just make sure that my bucket will be unique in all AWS account, right? And here I have I just have a Boolean value set to true, and here we want to create a resource. If this was type list, for instance, this is not going to work. Why? Because we don't have the same data type. If you want to define this as list, either you change everything to be string. That means if you put quote here and quote this one, it is a string. If you quote this, and I also quote this one, it is a string. And that is why we are saying that a list must have the same data type and not different data type, right? So you can see here, the tuple can support different data type, and this cannot. It should be the same data type. Now, here we have a resource here defined, and we are using the count method argument here to create multiple bucket, and we want to create 2 bucket in this case, right? We just say count equal, we say var dot underscore, and we said the way that we access data in the tuple, it is the same with the with a list, we use index position, and that's why we say var.s3 underscore bucket underscore config, and we want the first element in the list, which is an index position 0, and the bucket is equal to what? We use interpolation here to kind of define our bucket name, and we use the var.s3 underscore bucket underscore config. We want the first element in the, we want the second element in the list, which is this, and we want to use count, right? We say count.index plus 1, which means what is it going to do here? The first bucket that we are going to create, as the count is 2, that means we'll have here 0 at the first bucket, position 1. We have 0 plus 1 here, which is 1. The second one will be 1 plus 1, which is 2. That means the first bucket, it will append 1 here. The second bucket, the first bucket, it will append 1 here. That's correct. The second bucket, it will append 2. But if you just put count.index, the first bucket, it will append 0. The second bucket, it will append 1, because the first will be at index position 0, another one will be at index position 1. And if you want plus 1, the first bucket will be at index position 0. You say 0 plus 1 equal 1. The second index and the second bucket at index position 2, index position 1. That's 1 plus 1, which is 2. Now, we are just trying to enable versioning here, right? And how are we going to enable versioning? We want to enable versioning on multiple buckets. That's why we use the count.index to kind of refer to the bucket name, because the first bucket will be at index position 0, another one will be at index position 1. Now, here, this is where it's cool. We want to enable versioning. The status, we want the status to be enable, but we want to check that. We want to use some condition to check that. If we say status, we say var.s3 underscore bucket underscore config, and we want the first, second, and the third element in the tuple. If this is equal to true, we can enable. If it's not equal to true, we can use suspend, right? And this is just a little condition in Terraform. If this value here is equal to true, yes, the status should equal enable. If the value is false, if this is false, this status here to equal suspend. That means it will only enable versioning if this value is true. If we put false here, it will not enable versioning. And if you go ahead and save this and kind of trigger Terraform, we'll go and check this thing in AWS and see what it's going to create. If you just go ahead here and say Terraform, let me see where I am here. I'm going to navigate to the first example. And I will type Terraform init here to kind of download the provider. And when it will download this, we'll go ahead and type Terraform plan to see exactly what Terraform is going to create. We even know already what it's going to create. It's going to create 2 buckets, but the Terraform apply will always run Terraform plan. And if we want to check before we fire up, we have 4 resources, because it is we have 2 buckets and also 2 versioning that need to be enabled. As you guys can see here, the versioning status here, it is enabled. If you don't want to deploy this and change this value here to false, you guys will see that if you change this to false, it will suspend that versioning status. And if you tap Terraform apply and we check again, the versioning status suspended, right? And that is what I explained. Let me go back here. Let us just go ahead and enable versioning. Let me go ahead and enable versioning. Save it, and I will go ahead and apply. First of all, say no here, and right now I will apply, and we'll go and check that through AWS console and see what it's going to create. While it's doing that, I will hook over to my AWS console, and I'm going to click on S3 bucket. And we should see two new buckets here. This is the first bucket and this is the second bucket. Here is the appended 1 and here is basically appended 2, as I explained. If you click on that, there is nothing in there. And if we check, we will notice that versioning, it is enabled. The bucket versioning. The bucket versioning, it is enabled, as you guys can see here. Bucket versioning, it is enabled. If you go and change this again in our Terraform configuration code and put this one as false, and put this as false, and save, and if you trigger Terraform again one more time, as you guys can see here, it will try to suspend versioning. It changed enable to suspend. And if you hit enter and go to AWS refresh, you guys will see that it changed the versioning status from enable to suspend, right? And I'll go ahead and delete this Terraform destroy, and I'm going to confirm. We also have another example here, which is example 2. I will not deploy this, but I will rush through this. Within example 2, we want to kind of define also a tuple here, variable, and there we want a couple of stuff: string, and number, the map of string, and the list. And as you guys can see here, all the default value here. What is here? The first element in the list here should be the instance type that we want. The second one is what? The second one is just the AMI. The third one here, it is a number, as you guys can see. The fourth one here also, it is a number. This might be the number of instance that we want to create. This might be maybe the root file system that we want to assign to this instance. And here we have a map of string where we basically define our map, and this is a key value pair. And here we have a list variable. This is a list. That's what I said, right? That a tuple can basically support multiple data type. And here we have multiple data type. We have a string data type. We have a number data type. We have a map data type. We have a list data type. But if you want to use a list, it must be the same data type, right? And here, how are we getting the way that we are going to get element from the list? It is the same thing that we are going to get element from the tuple. For instance, if we want count, you guys will see that count is at index. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. And that is why we have 2 here. We are getting element, the third element in the tuple. And if we want the AMI here, it is the second element in the tuple. And if you want the instance type here, it is the first element in the tuple. And if we want maybe the this size, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. That one is the fourth element here in the tuple. If we want the volume, no, this is the 0, 1, 2, 3. It is the third element in the tuple. And if we want tag, you guys will see that tag here. It is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the fifth element. Hold on, mistake. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the fourth element in the tuple. Like I mentioned, first element always start at index position 0 and not position 1, right? As you guys can see here, we have different data type here in the tuple. You can go ahead and run this example on your end. I'm not going to deploy that, right? And that's it for this video, guys. If you like this video, let me know in the comment below. And also, please, if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do so. Also, please make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. Thank you. Bye-bye.